What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Russ Mitchell, Homesick Buckeye. I am here with another installment of Keto Conversations, where we bring you folks from all walks of life who've gotten on this keto road, embraced ketogenic living, and had tremendous results. We want to bring you their stories in an effort to uplift you, motivate you, and get you on that keto road with us, or keep you on that keto road with us. And tonight's guest, man, what a great guy, what a great story. You're really going to love him, Mr. Jeff DeProsperis. Welcome to Keto Conversations, Jeff.
Thanks, Russ. It's an absolute honor to be here. I just want to I want to say, like, honestly, ever since I interrupted your keto cookout that one night, me and the boys been watching keto cookout quite often, and we're grilling, baby. I can't wait to see you guys do it again.
Oh, I love that, man. That's so nice for you to say, man. And we'll just before we started with that, man, your story is incredible, and you really touched me, man, when you said those kind words to me, and you had your boys there with you, and I don't know, it's just very humbling to think that you can help somebody, or that you can just be a blessing to somebody, man, because when I think about you and your life and kind of all the things you got going on, time is precious. So the thought that you would even give me 1 millisecond of your precious time to watch me act a fool on this internet, man, I just I didn't know what to say, but I'm just grateful and thankful that I can be a blessing to you, man.
No, thank you very much, Russ. And you know what? On a Friday night, you're gonna start my weekend out with like lots of laughs and smiles. I'm pretty sure you are. So I'm pretty excited.
Hey, we do what we can, brother. We do what we can, man. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. And we're going to start this way. We start every keto conversation the same way. Tell us where you were born and what your childhood was like.
Oh, I like this intro. Yeah, I was born in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. That is the famous city because it's the home of Wayne Gretzky. So
Oh,
that's where I was born, home of Wayne Gretzky, Brantford. And the second part of this question was what was
your childhood, like your
my
early
childhood?
childhood, like your growing up years there,
I yeah, I grew up in Brantford because I still do live here. I went to elementary school and high school in Brantford. I left Brantford after high school to go to university. I went to Wilfrid Laurier in Waterloo, which is
Mhm.
like 45 minutes from my hometown. And then after that degree, I went to study another degree, an education degree at a different university, Brock University. And I guess that's my childhood.
Yeah,
Because
so you grew up, you had mom and dad in the home, siblings.
yeah, absolutely.
What was your home? What was his life
Yeah,
like that way?
I had a very, very loving, caring parents, mom and dad in the house. And my mom and dad, they're Italian immigrants.
Mm.
My mother came here when she was little. She came when she was like 6 or 7 years old. My father migrated to Canada when he was 17 years old. And I had a stay-at-home mother who cooked. And we talk about cooking. She cooked every home cooked meal. Like, she was a
Wow.
stay-at-home Italian mother, cooked a very good Mediterranean diet when I was living at home. My father, when he came over from Canada, he was a barber. He by trade in Italy. When he was 12 years old, he got taken out of school and was learned how to cut hair. And when he came to Canada, he worked for a guy for 2 years, and then he started his own barbershop at the age of 19. It was called Vince's. Yeah, his name is Vince. His name was Italian as Vincenzo. He started Vince's barbershop, and he retired 10 years ago. So he was a barber in my hometown from the age of like 17 all the way up to 65. Um, and he retired. And I grew up kind of hanging out with my dad in the barbershop. So
Oh, I love that.
you know what I mean? And that's barbershops are great places for guys to hang out, right?
Oh, you don't have
So
to tell me about that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
know a little bit about the barbershop. Hey, I didn't always have this haircut.
yeah, you know what? That's the kind of haircut I can do. if my dad got really busy, he'd say, okay, he'd get the clippers out and say, Jeff, you can cut these guys' hair, the bald guys.
I love that, man. So it sounds like you had just a great home, great child.
Yeah, I have a sister. I have a sister too. One sister. That's what I say.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So dad was at the barber shop and mom was at home rattling them pans, man. Making that gravy. They call it gravy.
Absolutely
the Italian gravy, man. And you and your sister were just living your best lives, man. And you're a hometown guy. Basically, never got too far away from where you were born and all that kind of stuff. I love that, man. So so your diet growing up, like as a kid, was it just standard Italian with everybody would think pasta, a lot of bread,
a lot of pasta and bread? No, 100%. But it was my mom. She was a pretty modern Italian cook. She would read like there's this guy. I think he's based out of Canada, David Rocco. He's a very, very popular Italian cook. My mom would read his books, and so she would a lot of fresh vegetables that she would grow in her garden, tomatoes, even lots of fruit. We had tons of fruit, like in the Italian household. And by the way, we would eat pasta. We'd have a lot of pasta, meat, and then we would eat salad last in an Italian household, last always. And that's actually. In terms of following, if you are going to eat fats and carbs, I was told you should be eating those salads last all the time. Eat the fats first. So we did that kind of proper. And then for dessert in an Italian household, dessert is always fruit. We don't really we have pastries, but the pastries are for the morning time. When you have your espresso, you have your pastry. But for dessert, we'd have fruit quite often.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So it sounds like this was your life all the way into high school age, basically.
Yes. When I went off to university, it changed.
Gotcha. So I'm with you. So let's talk about your high school years. What kind of student were you? Were you a good kid? Were you a wild child? Did you get good grades? What was high school years like?
You know what? I'm liking this interview. You're very different. I like how you're delving in. You're opening me up here.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's uncomfortable, you don't have to answer any questions you don't want to. It's not that kind of party now. We're not going to do that. But we want you to be comfortable here. We don't want to make it uncomfortable. But yeah, man, I want to know about you, not about what you eat. There ain't nothing to learn there. It's not for me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. In high school, what kind of student was I? That's a good question, because I'm reflecting on it quite often lately, because my two sons, like Peter just entered high school. He's in grade 10 now. Dante's in grade 8. He's going to be going there next year, right? So, what kind of student was I? In grade 9, I had an older sister who already went to my high school. She's 8 years older. So she prepared me for high school quite well. And my mother, she threatened me with like her slipper, right? So like she basically said, if you don't get good grades, you're going to get the slipper in the back of the head, right?
And listen, be glad it was a slipper and not a stiletto.
Yes, that's right. The stilettos these days. That's right.
Or clogs, a pair of them Danish clogs, man. She could have clogged you or something.
Yeah, those Dutch people, they got the wooden slipper, right?
I was gonna say, man. Growing up, I wish somebody would have threatened me with a slipper. I would have been like, what? Yeah.
But the problem was, here's the problem though, Russ. Grade 9, I got good grades. I was in the 90s, okay? But then I caught on and I found out that slipper didn't hurt. So in grade 10, 11, and 12, you know what? I probably didn't get the best grades I could have. And I was a little more focused. I was focused on other things, socializing. I was into sport. I was into sports, right?
Oh, so you were chasing them girls.
That's the way to say it. Yeah,
I got you, man. You're a handsome guy too, man. I can only imagine, brother. You were playing sports. So tell me, what sports were you playing?
Yeah, you know what? When I grew up playing soccer and basketball as a youth, really youth. But when I got to high school, I actually stopped playing soccer because I was really obsessed with basketball. You might laugh at this one, but I was super obsessed with Michael Jordan, and I was. I want to be like Mike. But I was like, like I wanted to be black too. Like I'd lie out in the
Oh,
sun and try to get
all right.
a tan. I'd try to get
I
a
got
tan and
you. I got
stuff.
you. I got you.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I was super excited for being a basketball player, and
Yeah.
I fell in love with Isaiah Thomas first as a point
Yeah.
guard
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Detroit, Michael Jordan, and then later on Kobe Bryant came in my life, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so
Right.
all those guys were my super role models and idols.
Love
So
that. Yeah.
I you know what, when I was in grade 9 and 10, I didn't start really like going out to parties and stuff. On a Friday night, I'd meet my buddy and we'd walk downtown to the YMCA and we'd
Mm,
ball. We'd ball like till like
right.
to midnight on a Friday, Saturday night. And then
Yeah.
we'd go home, right? So I was really into that.
Yeah.
And then grade 11 and 12, I still was really into basketball, but by grade 12, I decided, you know what, next year, because in Ontario we have grade 13. Actually,
Mm,
when I was in high school, and it was that year. Grade 13 was that year you had to really focus and get good grades. So grade 12, I started to say, you know what, I need to focus on school because my mom's slipper. It turned into like I don't know. She must have bought a heavier slipper because she said
right. Right. Right.
she really threatened me by grade 13, and she
Turned
used
into
to say,
it turned into a billy club.
yeah,
It's
that's right. And she
a
said,
taser. A
if
taser.
you,
That was
yeah, if you don't go to university after high school, you can survive on your own. She was going to throw me out to the dogs, right? So
right. Right. Right.
so so in grade 13, my grades. So at the end of grade 12, I said, you know what? Next year I'm not going to play. I was the running back on the football team, a
Mhm,
tailback. I was a rugby player, fullback. I was a
mhm.
basketball point guard. I was a track and
Yeah.
field. I was a track athlete.
Yeah.
I said, great. My last year, I'm not going to play anything except soccer. I'm going to go back to soccer, and
Mm,
I'm going to focus on school. So I did that, and I got good grades in grade 13, and then I was able to pick and choose what university I wanted to go to. And then
now,
because of that, and then I played university soccer. I
yes,
went off and played. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you. Sounds
yeah.
like you were incredibly athletic. Do they have a equivalent to the NCAA or something like that in
Yeah,
Canada
in
where you can get
Canada,
scholarships and
yeah,
stuff like that, or is it?
it's not at the same level as the NCAA. I always said, and I tell my boys this story is, if I was smart, I wouldn't have gave up soccer because soccer. My father trained me, being Italian. He
Mm,
coached me when I was little. He trained me to be a really good soccer player. So if I would have not focused on basketball and football and stuff, and I would have focused on soccer, I probably would have went to the States. I think
mm,
on an NCAA scholarship, right? But
right.
because I came back to soccer at a late age,
Yeah.
my options were, you know what, I'm going to go to Canadian
Never.
University.
Yeah.
I was actually a walk on because I was too late to be
Mm,
recruited. So
right.
I was a walk on at Wilfrid Laurier University. I played there my first 2 years. I sat out my last 2 years, my third and fourth year of university. But then when I went to Brock University for my education degree, I got the itch to play again. So I trained and I made that team. And then when I on that team on the Brock team on the Brock University team, my education year, we won a national championship, and I wear that ring.
Oh,
I
I
actually
love
just
that.
yeah, I just started wearing. So we were the best team in Canada, and I started wearing this ring again actually at the start of my journey, my cancer journey,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I want to be a champ. This is my champion ring.
Oh,
I
yeah,
want to be a
man.
champ. I want to be a champion, right?
Oh,
So that's
I love
yeah.
that, man.
Thanks.
That's incredible. So we get through high school. You didn't start out so great, but you ended up good. You go
Yes.
to college, you play sports, you win a national championship. Tell us about your diet during those times and as an athlete and that sort of thing. Was it, I'm guessing it was a little different than home.
That's a very good question, and I was prepared for that when I was 18, 19 years old, going off the first year of university. Um, I knew I wasn't going to have my mom there to cook, right? So right away, my parents, the first thing they do is they bought me that meal card, right? That
Mm,
meal card that you could, I'm staying in the residence at university. I'm able to get up in the morning and go tap that card and get breakfast, lunch, supper, right? But
right.
the breakfast, lunch, supper, some of it was cafeteria food, not the greatest. Some of it, there was actually a pita pit on campus. So to be healthy, I ate pita pit. And I ate a couple other fast. There was like a pizza, which is like a
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
fast food pizza place. So I tried to eat in, that was my first year university. Then my second, third, and fourth year university, I had to move off campus because they only let you stay on campus first year. And I got a house with a bunch of guys. Now that was a big problem because the
Yeah.
house with a bunch of guys, I was second and third year, I lived with four guys at a time, four or five different guys. And the kitchen was a disgusting mess. Like, like nobody did their dishes. So
Right. Right.
they'd be piling up, right? To be
Mhm.
honest with you, I met my wife in second year university. So she started coming to visit me on weekends, because she was living at a different city. And that's the only time the dishes got done was when my girlfriend came over, and she's like,
Wow.
she was disgusted with it. Either I would do it before because I was embarrassed that she was
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
over, or she came over and goes, "Hey, we need some dishes to cook some food on." So she'd do them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the food thing was a struggle in university. And then when the kitchen was too dirty, we'd go eat McDonald's. We'd go eat whatever,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. That's typical, high school through college, years. You just, especially if you're not health conscious at all. I didn't know, being an athlete, of course, back in those days, probably it wasn't quite like it is today in terms of
No,
having
I
nutritionists and all that kind of stuff. You just,
no.
you
I
eat
thought
what
I could,
you
I
find.
thought I thought I could eat Taco Bell every day and still
Right.
step on the athletic pitch and perform. That's
Well,
what I thought, right?
you probably could at 20.
Yeah, yeah, I could. I did at 20. You're absolutely right. You know what I mean?
But as the time goes on, yeah, Taco Bell ain't the thing, man. I get it.
Yeah,
So that's awesome. So you're in college, you meet your wife, you're playing sports and all that kind of stuff. And then you graduate with, you said a degree in education and
yeah. And my first degree was in kinesiology and physical education. So
gotcha.
it was a good combination of science and phys ed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now you come out, and what were your career goals during that time? Like when you're in college, did you have a plan, or were you just doing what you like to do? Being an athlete, that kinesiology and kind of stuff probably fit
That's
in
right.
well with what you were doing with that.
It
Did you
it
have
did.
aspirations of any type, or you just wanted to play ball? You just wanted to play soccer?
Yeah, I
As a
did. I did. My first and second year, I just wanted to play ball. That's all I
Right,
did. And I
right,
and I
right,
and I
right,
si- and I signed up for that kin phys ed program because I'm like, you know what? I can take like some of my courses I was taking were sports courses. Like I took an intro to soccer course. I took an intro to basketball course, and then all my
yeah,
roommates, they were studying business commerce, and they were all
yeah,
jealous. They're like, "You're taking a basketball course?" Like they were
yeah,
like looking at me
yeah.
funny,
I love it.
right?
Yeah, that'd be like me going to college taking an intro to mashed potatoes course.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
That's
It's like,
hilarious.
I don't need an introduction to mashed potatoes. They're related to me, you
That's
know?
hilarious.
So,
Yeah,
I
but
got you, man. All
but
right.
my third and fourth year university before I went on to my second degree, I think it was my mother and father at home because they were helping me pay to go to university. They said, "You
Yeah,
better get your grades straightened out because you got to move on to another degree after this," right? So my
yeah.
third and fourth year, I started to focus, and I hummed and hawed. I was very close to being a chiropractor. I
Hmm,
actually so when I left my kinesiology program at the end of it, I applied to chiropractic college, which was in Toronto, Ontario, and it was the only one in Canada actually at the
hmm,
time. So it was very difficult to get into. I got granted an interview. I went through the interview process. They didn't accept me. They put me on the waiting list, which was kind of an honor too to be on a waiting list. But I turned it down because at the same time I applied to teachers college, which I got into like three or four different teachers colleges, and I was able to pick. And I knew that I wanted to be involved in sports, right?
hmm,
So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to teachers college, and I'm going to be a high school phys ed teacher. And I was pretty determined, especially when I was in my education degree. That one year I was at Brock University, I was determined to finish school and become a high school phys ed teacher. And that is you can't do that. You can't
yeah,
everybody that wants to be a teacher and is into sports want to be the high school phys ed teacher, right? So that those jobs weren't easy to come by, but I was
oh,
determined and I was focused, and I didn't let anybody say no to me. I went into interviews saying I'm going to be a high school gym teacher. I don't care if you have no jobs for me. I'm going to be a high school gym teacher no matter what,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I started teaching. grade 6 for like 7 months in elementary school, but I went right up to high school because I wanted to, and right away I got my dream job. I was teaching
Oh,
I was teaching 3 sections of phys ed, but I also had to teach 3 sections of science, like grade 9 science, and that was fine. And I did that for about 4 years, and then I got full time phys ed, and I've been teaching full time phys ed for like 15 years. Well, now it's 21 years. Like it
nice,
adds up
man.
quickly.
So you met your wife, of course, in college. You mentioned that. She was your girlfriend, and she was over there rattling, busting them studs in that filthy kitchen.
Yes,
And so you figure out what you want to be, and then you get out of college, and pretty soon it sounds like you're right where you want to be.
yes, I
Uh,
was. I'm very fortunate. I was
yeah,
very blessed.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
blessed. Yeah.
Now, when did you get married? Was that during college or after college, or were you a teacher by
Uh,
then?
my wife and I, we got married. Well, I started teaching. My first year teaching was 2003, 4, and my wife and I got married in 2006. So
Gotcha.
we waited a couple years. We waited
Yeah,
till I got into my career. She was getting into her career, and yeah, we timed things pretty perfect, I think,
yeah,
in terms
yeah,
of coming out of school and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so you started having kids a little bit after that. You got two boys.
Yeah,
And
Peter's born in 2008, and Dante's born in 2010. So
gotcha.
we spaced everything out properly, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Now, what type of diets and stuff were you doing after college, and now you're married and you got kids? You're still living close to home, so is mom still influencing
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff? Or tell us about
yeah. An Italian mother definitely
yeah,
influences
yeah,
the way their boys or even daughters or anybody leave the house. So when I started my teaching career, I was dating my wife, and she actually, I moved her to closer to me. I ended up buying like a rental property where she lived in for free, and I rented out the other half. But I was still living at home, so my girlfriend was living in the place I owned, but I I was at home eating my first 2 or 3 years teaching. I was eating my mother's meals, and I was still feeling pretty. I was getting a great home cooked meal.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
when we got married, obviously you got to leave, but I still, my mother actually taught my wife. She's not Italian background, but my
Mm.
mother taught my wife how to make sauce, Italian like
Oh,
tomato sauce. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
my wife is a very good tomato sauce pasta maker.
Yeah,
And she's a pretty good cook too. So we ate somewhat good. The biggest problem I think where my diet really changed was when we started having kids. And we started
mm,
having kids and getting busy. Like my boys, they both started playing sports when they were like 2.5 years old, like
yeah,
soccer and hockey. So I every single weekend and even some weeknights were filled up with I'd come home from work and I'd be taking them to sports, right? So
yeah,
then it turned into, I'm grabbing Subway.
yeah,
I'm grabbing McDonald's. I'm grabbing
yeah.
We have this place called Harvey's, a burger place. So
Mm,
I started eating those foods, and you know what? I probably started doing. I was doing that for the past like 10 years. 10 years
right, right, right.
eating on the go. And you know what?
Yeah,
I thought I was eating healthy at Subway, like, but
yeah,
that bread is made of sugar. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's not
yeah.
even the flour. It's mostly sugar, right? And,
Yes, it's healthy.
and
It's healthy considered to Dunkin' to donuts and pastries, but
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah. But
not healthy as we know it, not
no,
nourishing
no.
as we know it, but it's relative to your other choices.
Yes, yes, yes,
It
yes. So
was. I know exactly what you mean. I've been there, done that.
you know what? I still visit some of those establishments, and you've seen it. Like even Carrie Mann came to visit me, right? And we still go to McDonald's, but we order differently now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We
Yeah.
just order one ingredient, right? That's it.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I know who we is. Most of the time, yes. Listen, I occasionally dibble and dabble in the dark underworld of carbohydrates, but
yeah,
yes, I know.
yeah,
I
because
know.
I know you went to listen. And this is my favorite family restaurant in the States. You went to the Olive Garden with your family. I was watching your film, right? So
Yeah.
the Olive Garden, my family for a long, because the Olive Gardens, they used to be in Canada when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and then they took them away from Canada. So the only time we can go to the closest for me to get to the States, we got to drive to Niagara Falls, right? Niagara Falls,
Hmm.
we cross into New York State. So, but
Yeah.
once we cross in, it's only an hour and a half. So
Right.
my wife and my kids and even my mom and dad, they didn't mind it either. We go to Olive Garden all the time. And you get the bread at Olive Garden. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
salads and stuff,
Now
right?
that surprises me that you would say that because, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just,
Mhm.
you can tell me, but
Sure.
I've kind of heard from different people that Olive Garden is basically the Taco Bell of Italian food.
It is. It
Like
is.
if you really,
It is.
you want to go to Buca di Beppo's or Maggiano's, or there's better,
No,
more authentic.
you live in Florida, don't you?
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville. So we go to Fort Lauderdale all the time. So
Mhm.
there's an Italian place called Louis Bossi's. Louis Bossi's. Have
Right,
you heard of that? That place is mint. No, you know what? Here's the thing. Because I think this is the reason why we went to Olive Garden. We were attracted to, of course,
yeah,
it being an Italian chain.
yeah,
But
yeah.
growing up with my mom and dad, we never ate out. Like to me,
Right,
my father worked hard for his money, so he didn't want to go to a restaurant and
right, right.
spend $300 on a meal, right? He like
Yeah,
so Olive Garden, you can go there and you can get
yeah,
a
yeah.
somewhat decent meal for a good price, right? And
Absolutely. And
and that,
I want to make it very clear. There's
yeah,
no disrespect to Taco Bell. Shout out to
yeah,
Taco.
yeah. I
Okay.
listen. Taco Bell was my favorite. Taco Bell was my favorite in high school. And you know what? The only thing I knew about Taco Bell when I was in high school, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you know how they grade like meat, like the levels of meat. I found out that I heard Taco Bell's meat. It's not even close to
Yeah, it's
real
not all.
meat. Like it's
Well,
closer like
actually, not.
pet food
Yeah.
or something like that.
Well, no. Listen, you eat ground beef. You buy ground beef from the store and fry it up,
Yeah,
and look at that, and then look at what's in your taco or your
yeah,
burrito at Taco Bell. It doesn't look
yeah.
like
Doesn't
that.
look the same. No, it doesn't look
It,
the same.
it,
But
it's
it's
got
good.
some.
It's good though. I loved
Yeah,
it.
it's got some, I think, some soy and some fillers and some things in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
mostly beef, but they definitely stretch it.
They
But
do.
yeah, there's no beef.
It was coming out of a tube. It was coming out of a tube too, which is
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah,
And that's what I mean when I said it's kind of like the Taco Bell of Italian food. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's Italian-ish,
But you
you
know
know.
what? I'll
and,
tell you something. Another secret. When my Italian family, when we went to Eastside Mario's, we wouldn't order pasta. We would never order
right.
pasta because we get that good stuff at home. So we would
Yeah,
get the all you can eat salad,
yeah,
the
yeah,
all you can eat bread, and
yeah.
we you know what? We'd order a nice piece of chicken or something like a
Mhm.
chicken parmesan or something like that. We'd order something like that. So we wouldn't order the pasta from Olive Garden for sure.
Yeah, that is funny. All right, so now you're married, you got kids, you're still eating kind of standard American diet. Actually, a little bit less than that because you're not getting a lot of home cooked meals. You're on the go all
No,
the time. You're eating
no.
fast food, junk food, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yes, yes,
So let's get into let's fast forward until when you found out about your cancer.
yes.
Tell the people when that was and kind of what you were doing and where your life was leading into that.
Yes. Okay. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna go about 7 or 8 months prior to me getting diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So about 7 or 8 months prior to that, it was June 2021, and we were actually that month of June was kind of like the last of the pandemic, where we
Mhm.
actually that over here in Ontario we taught online for that month of June to finish off the year because there was another COVID spell going on. So that month of June, when I was at home teaching from home, it was great because the home cooked meals were like, you
Yeah,
know, I'd finished teaching online. I didn't have to drive home because I was already home. So I
right.
go outside, I fire up the barbecue. I would cook an abundance of meat. I'd have chicken, I'd have pork, I have abundance. But then my wife would be inside. She'd be making beautiful sides, fresh vegetables, rice. You know what? We'd have some nice Italian buns and breads ready, and maybe some potatoes, and she'd cook sweet potatoes. So I'd bring all these meats in, and we'd have a feast like every night.
Mhm.
But it wasn't just the meat, it was everything else, right? So,
Mhm.
but I started feeling really tired after every single meal. Like, and I wasn't really feeling like this in the past as much. I'd eat and I'd be like, okay, guys, I gotta go lie down. I go lie down, and I wouldn't lie down for like 20 minutes. I'd lie down for like the next 3 hours, right? And I
Right.
just lie there, watch TV. It was bad habits, and I wasn't feeling good. Not like
Yeah.
I didn't know you're supposed to actually feel good after a meal. I was feeling like
Right,
too
right.
too
Well,
bloated, right?
hey, listen, especially them big Italian meals, man, loading up
Yeah.
on all that bread and pasta.
Yes.
It's time to
Yes.
go to sleep. It's time to take a nap.
At nap time, exactly. But anyways, I said at the end of June of 2021, I told my family, I go, you know what? I'm going to make some changes. For one, I'm going to cut out alcohol for the whole month of July. Okay. Cause I was drinking wine when I'm barbecuing, I'm drinking beer. I'm like, so that's all those carbohydrates and sugars. I'm thinking, I'm going to cut out alcohol for a month in the whole month of July. And I'm going to cut out meat. I'm going to cut out meat. I'm going to be a vegetarian. Okay. I blamed it on the meat. Right. So July of 2021, all the way up to January of 2022, that's about 6 months, I was a vegetarian.
Wow.
And and you know what? It did make me happy. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. It did make me happy. And I
No,
know
hey, there is no happiness
no, I was missing the meat.
at the bottom of a salad bowl.
No, there's no happiness. You're absolutely right. You know what? The only at the bottom of the salad bowl, actually, if you have the right olive oils or even
Mhm.
the creamy dressing, that's the stuff I liked. And I was grabbing, but then I was grabbing the bread and dipping it
Yeah, I
in.
was
Right?
gonna say,
It was just
yeah,
horrible.
right,
Right?
right. I was gonna say, it still wasn't happy.
No, it was not
Okay,
good.
but there
And
is happiness with a pile of some kind of bones that have no
yes,
meat on them. That is
yes,
true happiness. It could be a chicken bone, it could be a beef rib, it could be a rib bone, it could be a
yeah. And my
T-bone, it could be there's
and you know
true
what?
happiness at an empty bone on a plate.
100%. And you know what, Russ? My father and my mother, especially my mother, she was not happy that I was a vegetarian because she
Mhm.
part of a good healthy Mediterranean diet. Like if you
Yeah,
look up those blue zones in Italy, like
yeah.
Sardinia,
Lamb?
they
Yeah,
eat lamb, fish. You know,
yeah, yeah,
moose. They eat all these
yeah,
things, right? You know what I mean? Like so, she knew that meat makes you strong, and she wasn't happy with
yeah,
me. So
yeah, yeah.
you know, and then I noticed while I was a vegetarian, this is all coming now. It's really coming clear to me.
Mhm.
I was vegetarian July, August, September. I got into late October, November,
Mhm.
December. I stopped. My sleep was horrible. It
Yeah.
was like it was like 1 hour a night. Like honestly, I was tossing and turning all night, like for 3 months. It got to the end. It got to January, the new year, and I'm going to school with no sleep. And I'm getting nauseous and I remember leaving a health classroom, like going to the bathroom and throwing up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Right. So I ended January. I told my parents, I kept telling my wife, I was telling my kids, and then my sister and my father, they're like, you need to go tell your principal that you need to take a leave of absence because something's going on with you and you need to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of January, I went in, I told my principal, I actually got diagnosed from my doctor being depressed and anxiety. He didn't diagnose me with cancer. He diagnosed me with
Right,
having
right.
sleep disorders, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I went and I went and I told my principal I need to take a leave. So then I came home and I said, you know what, I'm gonna leave. I'm a mess. And I thought about my food and I go, I'm done with vegetarian diet.
Right,
I
right.
know I'm done with that because
Because
I don't know what it did to me.
you didn't have any of these problems before with your diet. You just were
No.
feeling a little slow.
Sluggish, right?
Energy thing, but digestion and sleeping and things
It
like
was
that
I
sort of
think
the
it was all
problem.
being hidden. It was all being hidden too, right?
Mhm.
By something that I know now of. It's called inflammation.
Right.
Inflammation was hiding a lot of symptoms, right?
Yeah.
But the one symptom that was evident was the sleep. And when you have a digestive problem that you don't know about, your brain knows about it, and it causes you not to sleep. And I didn't know what was going on, right? So
Interesting.
so then I went off and I was for like 2 months, I was trying to diagnose myself. I'm like, there's no way I'm majorly depressed. There's no way I have
Yeah.
anxiety. Like, I go, what's going on with me? Like, my doctor,
Yeah.
he prescribed me pills and stuff. And I'm like, so I'm diagnosing myself. And by the end of February, March of 2022, I started noticing my stools, like the difference in stools, really thin, really thin. And then there was appearance of some blood in the stool, this and that. And then I said, I said to my wife, I gotta get a colonoscopy done, something. So I
Yeah.
started begging my doctor for, like, at least let's get an ultrasound done. And
Yeah.
this is kind of sad. He kind of told me, you're too young. He goes, just drink some prune juice for like a week. That's what he told me, right? Because I was a bit constipated and stuff. So
Yeah.
then it wasn't going away. So finally, we got an ultrasound, and then we got a colonoscopy. And my colonoscopy was the beginning of April of 2022, where I got diagnosed with colon cancer. So my colon, my sigmoid colon, if that's the tube, more than half of it was covered with a huge mass, right? And they told me that, and I was devastated. And then it took 2 or 3 weeks later, they were going to do a CT scan on my whole body. But leading up to that CT scan, I started to feel pressure in my liver, and I'm starting to diagnose myself by Dr. Google. Okay, and
Yeah.
I knew that the colon cancer went to the liver next, right?
Yeah.
So when I went in for my CT scan, I told that person, my liver's fully covered. You're gonna tell, and that's exactly what they told me. My liver's fully covered, right? So then this is end of April now, and now I get a phone call from an oncologist saying, hey, you can start cancer treatment in August at a town closer to Toronto, or you can do it in your hometown and start the end of May. And I said, okay, let's do it in my hometown. I'll start the end
Yeah.
of May. Giddy up to that one. I need to get moving on this, right? Because I had a colon specialist, a liver specialist, and they told me, you know what, we'll probably have surgery, but we'll start with chemo. They were all pretty positive, right?
Yeah.
But then my oncologist called me. When he called me, and he was talking to me and my wife on a call, he that's when he staged me. He said, you are inoperable, you're incurable, you're stage 4 cancer. It's fully, your liver's fully covered. We're just going to try to maintain quality of life. That's all he said to me. And I'm like, maintain quality of life? He's like, for a little bit. He said, for a little bit, maintain it as long as we can. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I felt like I was just being like taken off this earth, like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, right?
Yeah.
And it was devastating. So I did 3 rounds of chemo. I did, like, starting at the end of May into June. And that's when my best friend Dwight, I talk about him all the time, he started sending me messages. And he was sending me, I read a message. He goes, first message, he goes, hey, I heard you're off work. I hope you're okay. Can I send you some messages? So some videos, sorry. Can I send you some videos? And I go, some videos? Like, what are you going to send me? He's going to send me some movies to cheer me up or something, I thought.
Right.
And next thing you know, I get a YouTube video from Dr. Berg. Dr. Berg interviewing a guy from France with colon cancer who ate ribeye steaks and fasted for 21 days. And then Dwight kept sending me more videos about diet. He started saying about ketosis and about carnivore and about all the and about fat. And he kept. I'm like,
No, I want to.
yeah,
I
sure.
want to. Now, had you gotten off of vegetarian by the time you were diagnosed?
Yes. When I went off
You
work,
were off vegetarian. You went on vegetarian then, but it wasn't making you better. You were actually getting sicker and having other problems. So
yeah.
you went back to your standard American diet that you were kind of just your Italian regular, stuff.
Italian regular stuff I was doing. I said, what
Got
have I been doing this vegetarian for? Especially now I left work and I'm leading up to diagnosing myself. I'm like, why am I even doing this vegetarianism? I said everything has went downhill since I started that. Right.
Right. And so
So
then so you get back onto your standard American diet, and then you get your cancer diagnosis.
yes.
Now, after going through the depression,
Sure.
hoax and all that. So prior to that, had you ever heard of ketogenic living in any way, shape, or form?
Never. I've never. I
Atkins
barely ever heard.
anything?
I barely ever heard the word keto before. I actually heard paleo, or there was another book back at day. I forget what it was. Like, it was a low carb diet.
People knew
South Beach diet. South Beach.
Yeah.
Atkins, that too. Yeah, that's what I was trying
Atkins,
all those.
that's the induction phase of Atkins is basically the carnivore diet.
It is, eh?
Yeah. The first, if I remember right, I read the book 25 years ago, but the first 2 to 3 weeks is just fat and protein, and then you work up to get a few carbs in, until
Yes,
you
yes,
figure out where your ketosis is and that kind of stuff. It's never, even in the original book, which came out in the 90s, I think, never was the induction phase was just a phase. It wasn't, the end of the
permanent.
road. It was the beginning of the road
Yeah,
until
yeah,
you got to the next phase, and then the induction phase, or then the maintenance phase was after the second phase, which I can't think what that was. It was still a low carb diet, but he
yeah,
basically started people out at carnivore and worked them back to ketovore,
yeah,
um, because even in those days in the 90s, I don't even think Dr. Atkins thought you could do this long term as a forever lifestyle.
yes,
It wasn't until just fairly recent. And then keto came out. I don't know what year that was, but back in those days, it wasn't called keto or ketogenic. It was the Atkins diet.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
okay, so you got your cancer diagnosis. You're starting to get videos from your friend showing you ketogenic living. You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
zero carb. It sounds like mostly ketogenic living, and this is foreign to you because again, you'd never really heard of it. You'd maybe done Atkins or South Beach or some things like that, but this was like zero carb carnivore.
Crazy. Like,
Yeah,
and then and then I started getting these videos from Dr. Shafee saying plants are trying to kill you, right?
right,
And
right.
that was like,
Shout
I'm
out
like,
to Chuck Schaefer.
now I'm like, what? I'm not going to eat any plants at all. Like, I was
Right.
like, I was pretty shocked about that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So what was your friend? Your friend was trying to help you, obviously. Was he
Yeah,
doing this himself, or was
he
this
was.
just something he was sending to you to help you?
No, he had some good experiences. He had some bad experience that led into good experiences, right? He had his father-in-law had cancer, and he started studying diet when his father-in-law was going through it, and the doctors didn't mention anything about diet to his father-in-law, and they basically just gave him chemo to die, kind of. So he had a bad experience there. And then at the same time, and that was like 4 or 5 years previous to him sending me videos, my buddy Dwight, he got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He was too heavy, and he had a growth on his liver. Yeah, and that's what a scan showed, like a pretty large dark growth. And he said, I'm not letting you guys touch it. I'm not letting you do a scope or nothing on it. He goes, I'm gonna fix this myself. He was determined, right? So
Yeah,
he fasted. He said he did a crazy fast. I don't know how many days he did, crazy amount of fasting. And then he ate carnivore. He started keto himself too. And then
yeah,
he totally, when you start keto, that's just the beginning of carnivore, I find, if you're
yeah,
doing it properly, right? And then he got into carnivore, and then within a couple years, I think it was a couple years, type 2 diabetes was gone. Okay. That the spot in his liver disappeared totally. So
mm,
he had success with it. So when
mm,
he started having success with it, he wanted to keep learning, Dwight. So he wanted to
yeah,
keep learning, and he wanted to help other people, right, as much as
yeah,
possible. And he feels, and obviously, like anybody, he feels comfortable with people that he's close to. And I was coaching some sports teams with him at the high school, and he wanted to help me because maybe he thought I was a good person, I guess.
yeah, 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 yeah. You're a good
Yeah,
dude. So,
thanks.
so you're getting these videos, you're looking at them. Now, at this point, where's your mindset? And I know you're probably doctors telling you one thing, about, let's start with once your oncologist told you that it was inoperable, incurable, all that,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
give you a time frame, hey, get your affairs in order, 6 months, a year, 3
He
months,
didn't. He didn't.
like that?
That oncologist didn't give me a time frame, and he was actually very empathetic. He was straightforward the way he delivered the news,
Mhm.
but it was my colon specialist and my liver specialist. I asked them before talking to uh, my oncologist. I said, if I choose not to do any chemotherapy or even any surgery, I was just totally shocked, and I'm like, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah,
How long do I have to live? And they said, at the point you're at right now, they said probably a couple months. And they told me that, and then my face dropped, and then like, but then they tried to correct themselves, and they said, hey, but don't, we can't tell you when you're going to die. And then my oncologist, when he called me for chemo, I asked him, hey, you're telling me you're going to maintain quality of life with chemo. That's fine. But how long can I live for? And he right away, he admitted, we can't tell you how long you're going to live for.
Right.
No doctor can really tell you that, right? They're going to go on stats. So he
Right.
says, he said, and I think he started rhyming off the stats, the 5-year survival rate stat, right? And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear any of it. When he said there's like 8 to 12% of people live 5 years that have your state
Right.
of colon cancer, and then it wasn't until like I started entering this YouTube world. And Sean Baker, he was my first guy that interviewed me, Dr. Sean Baker. He
Yep.
started reminding me of the stats again, and that's fine. He's just being realistic, but I don't want to
Yeah.
read those. I don't want to read those
Yeah.
stats.
Yeah.
So my mindset is different. So
I got you.
that's where I'm at there.
No, no, I got you. I got you. So you decide ultimately to do chemo, not surgery, and change your diet. That's
Yes,
ultimately
100%. I didn't have an option with surgery. I thought I did, but then he deemed me inoperable, right? So
yeah,
I had to start chemo, and I had all my team members, like my wife, my kids, my sister, my mom, my dad. They're like, start chemo, because I was hesitating.
yeah.
I'm like, this chemo thing is like a poison. Like I don't know if
Right,
I want to
right,
do. I
yeah,
don't know if I want to do it. They're like, no, you guys do it, right? So they encouraged me to start it, and I'm glad they did.
yeah,
I'm not gonna. I think there's a certain point of the doctors, the conventional doctors and cancer doctors. You do have to trust them a bit.
sure, sure.
You have to trust them, right? Like so, it's not that I don't trust them. I just know there's more I can be doing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I did the chemo and I did 27 rounds, and then
mm,
I asked for a break, and I had just past June, July, August off, and then I started back up. I knew I was gonna have to come
yeah,
start chemo again. It was just a break, right?
yeah, yeah.
I started chemo in September, and now I've done 34 rounds. Next week is my 35th round of chemo.
Now you changed your diet to zero carb carnivore. I mean, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
and heavily beef, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I have my weeks where I get really motivated, and I go, boys, I'm doing lion diet, right? Where I'm like, it's zero carbs because it's red meat, maybe lamb. That's pretty much it. But
Mm.
most of the time, I do because it's very. I'm not gonna lie, it's very difficult to be a lion diet all the time. Like I have my
Oh, it's
family. I'm
absolutely
making
it is.
yeah. I'm making egg.
Even
Yeah,
if you live by yourself, it's hard. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
you know, most
So
people can't unless they have a compelling reason. They don't live that way.
no, and like so. For instance, now I'm pretty animal based. I don't touch plants really much at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah,
Like
sure.
I eat eggs, and eggs have a little bit of carbs in it, right? They
Yeah,
do,
very little trace.
and cheese does.
Yeah.
I try to eat the better cheeses, right? The
Yeah.
harder cheeses.
Mhm.
Um, so I eat chicken, and I do, like tonight we ate chicken wings. My
Right.
wife, she air fried the chicken wings
Mhm.
and she soaked it in butter. I love
Yes,
that, right?
love it.
Soaked in butter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And a little bit of Frank's Red Hot. I know that's a plant, but
Oh, yeah. Cayenne.
it's fermented. It's fermented. It's zero carbs,
Yeah.
zero sugar, right? So I do I try to spice it up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you can spice up the carnivore diet in many ways,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So so is the family doing it with you, or are you doing it
Yeah, you know
pretty much,
what?
what's the
They all are doing some sort of keto. My wife does keto. She doesn't touch the wheats, the flours,
right, right.
she doesn't have desserts. She loves her veg. Okay, and
Sure.
I respect that. You know what I mean? And
Most
my
people do, again,
yeah,
unless they
yeah,
have a compelling reason, a
yes,
health reason why they have to go. Most people are gonna have some little bits of fruit, little bits of vegetable, maybe season. I season with vegetables, onions, peppers, things like that.
yeah,
I
sure,
don't have a big bowl of vegetables, but yeah, I put a little bit of peppers and onions and
yeah,
parsley with things in my. I enjoy salsa. It's got little onions and peppers and things in it,
no, absolutely.
like ground
And
beef and stuff. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's how I think most folks are. But let's fast forward into.
Sorry,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Peter and Dante are carnivores, especially Peter. He's the older one. He really loves red meat. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
and to be honest with you, I think Peter could probably be very close to lion diet. But Dante, he's carnivore too. but he likes to have a mixture of everything. He loves butter. He loves some good yogurts with
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
low carbs. He eats cheese, but Dante, lots of things. And you know what? Both boys, I'll tell you, like, we do buy the keto desserts as treats once in a while, maybe once a week. Maybe
Yeah,
we get the keto ice cream bar that's very,
yeah.
very low carb, made with monk fruit. So they have those, like, they're boys. Like, I'm not gonna deprive
Yeah.
them of everything, right? You know
And
what I
they're
mean?
they're young, and they're, I'm sure, very, active.
Yes, they are
So,
active. That's
they
right.
can metabolize it. It's not
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
in being ketogenic is about understanding what you can metabolize. It's not,
Yes.
our bodies are equipped to handle carbohydrates. They're not equipped to
No,
handle
they're not.
excess carbohydrates. So if they can metabolize 30 or 40 carbohydrates a day,
Yes.
easy peasy, it's not even a big deal. You know what I
No,
mean?
absolutely.
It's just it's the nature of it. So I totally get that. But that's awesome that they're learning, the
Oh
proper
yeah.
diet at a young age, because my weight problem started when I was 8 years old. I mean, I lived in a
Wow.
house where that just wasn't an option. Everything was rice and
Yeah.
potatoes and corn, and we had biscuits, rolls, and cornbread. I mean, it was just like, the whole
Crazy.
thing. It's typical kind of a
Sounds
southern.
it sounds delicious though. It sounds delicious,
Oh,
everything
it
you're
is
eating.
fantastic, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Thanksgiving Day, it went down, and Christmas Day, it probably will too.
That's awesome.
But I digress.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, the improvements that you've seen, since you started doing that, and talk a little bit about your doctors and how they reacted to, I'm guessing you told them what you were gonna do diet-wise and all that, or
I
maybe
kind of
you
been
didn't.
I kind of was hiding the diet part.
Okay, okay,
I'll tell you a second. Um, the improvements right away. I actually just made a video for Carrie Mann that my subscribers haven't seen. I talked about depression, right? Because Carrie Mayer made that video, I think, yesterday, where he's got a buddy that's struggling with depression. So
mhm.
he wants as many people that are carnivores to talk about if they had depression improvements, right? So, right away, I got diagnosed, even though I don't think there was. There definitely was some type of depression. I maybe because my body wasn't working right, I wasn't sleeping right.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got my diagnosis and I switched to carnivore, there's no depression, there's no anxiety, my sleep has gotten lot better. Last night I woke up this morning and I actually forgot that I slept. That's how good I slept. When you get in a deep sleep, and you're like, what the heck? And next thing you know, it's morning, right? Like, I know,
Hey, I've
like,
not been there. I've never slept so good that I've forgotten that I slept.
no,
Yeah,
no,
that
but
sounds like sounds
what
like
I'm,
you might have rolled up and smoked something a little bit while
yeah.
before you went to sleep
Hey,
there.
I didn't last night. I've dabbled in it a little bit because Coach Dwight.
Hey, don't incriminate yourself. I don't know what the rules are in Canada there, brother.
No,
I
in
don't
Canada, we're allowed to smoke whatever we want, whenever we
Oh,
want.
okay, okay, okay.
It's very liberal over here.
Well, in that case, smoke them if you got them. Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, but I didn't last night, and you know what? What I'm trying to say is
Mhm.
my sleep was so bad that I was waking up all the time. That's what I remembered. So I woke up this morning, like, I didn't remember waking up. So I'm like, what the heck? I slept? Holy smokes. So my sleep has improved from carnivore
Yeah,
big time.
yeah.
My depression, there's no such thing as depression. I don't have time for depression right now. I don't have time for it.
Right, right,
I gotta
right,
live, right?
right.
Getting into the diet and my doctors. Okay. So when I started telling my oncologist after the third or fourth round of chemo, I'm going to be adding things into my life. And I told him I was going to add in a naturopath, an osteopath. I'm going to start fasting. I'm going to start going a low carb diet. That's what I called it, a low carb diet. Right.
Yeah,
And my oncologist, believe it or not, because some oncologists, a lot of oncologists are not that supportive. My oncologist is very supportive. He said, that sounds great, Jeff. You do what you think you need to do. He's like, I'm here for you for chemo, but you do what you need to do. And he was supportive with me going to a naturopath and everything.
There's a
Then,
lot, there's a lot of science about sugar and cancers. So it
yes,
wouldn't surprise me that he would, when you say you're going low carb, that he wouldn't be opposed to
no,
that. But when you go to the extra length of, lion diet, that's when some of them will get, a little bit more like, what are you doing?
well, it's coming out now. Now I'm being brave and telling them, right? So my naturopath doctor, he subscribed to me when I started going to him. First of all, he said Mediterranean diet, and then he listed everything I need to eat on the Mediterranean diet. And then the second option, he called it a keto diet, but he didn't list anything. He just called it or the keto diet, right?
Mm.
So that there told me, he's like, well, he hasn't really done much research on ketosis as much, right?
Right.
So I told him I'm going to do the keto diet. I told my naturopath, and so keto diet, if you look up what keto diet is, it's low carb veg. It can be
Yeah.
it can be low glycemic index
Yeah.
berries.
50 to 100 carbs a day, probably.
Yeah, that's right. It can be
That right.
nuts too, right? So
Yeah.
so that's what I think my naturopath, and it wasn't till about, I've been going to my naturopath for about 18 months. It wasn't just recently, in the last, probably since I started my YouTube channel, 3 months ago. Now I've told him, and Carrie Mann came to film me, and he met my naturopath doctor, and he filmed my naturopath doctor. That's what I told him, and now he knows. Right now, my naturopath doctor, he emailed me today. He goes, Jeff, I'm still working on your plan, because he wants to make a new plan moving forward right now. And he said, I'll be there next week for my hyperthermia, which after my chemo, I go there for that. And he said, I'll talk to you about the plan, right? In terms of, how much high dose because I'm going to start doing high dose vitamin C. I did that for the first year, and then I took a break from it. So we're doing that again. Maybe some mistletoe, maybe some new supplements he's going to introduce to me. And now I think with the supplements, he's going to factor in that I'm on the carnivore diet, right? So certain things that I may need. And I know Anthony Shafee says if you're carnivore, you don't need to supplement, but I'm a carnivore that has cancer. That's a different story.
You're outside the bell of the curve there.
Yeah.
So what about tumors and cancer, in terms of cancer cells and that? I mean, I'm sure you're monitoring that. Have you noticed any
Yeah.
difference with your liver
So
or your colon?
yeah. So for the first 12 months, my first 27 rounds of chemo, I had 5 scans, and I had and I also have a tumor marker in the colon. It's called the CAA. It's a tumor marker in your blood. So when I started chemo, my tumor marker was super high, like 187. I don't know what that means, 187. But
Yeah.
anyways, by the time I got to my 5th scan, the tumor marker that in the colon was down to 14, 187 to 14.
Oh,
Like, so
wow.
that shows that tumor in the colon shrank drastically, right?
Right.
The liver spots, I don't even know how many I have, maybe at 12, 16. My liver's fully covered, right? So,
Yeah.
but on all those scans, the first one, there was a good amount of shrinkage. Like, I'm talking like 1/4 shrinkage of every single tumor. Okay. The second one, the same amount of shrinkage, another 1/4. Third one's shrinkage. Fourth one, shrinkage. I got to the 5th scan. My oncologist came in the room, and every time he's coming in smiling, and he's going,
Mhm.
Jeff, I got to be completely honest with you. At your stage and your type of cancer, he goes, normally we get shrinkage the first scan, then it goes stable, no more shrinkage, and
Right.
then the chemo stops working, and we got to switch to a different chemo. That's what he says. So I was doing something that he's barely ever seen before, right?
I love it.
So yeah, so that and by those 5th scan, I'm telling him, listen, I'm fasting a lot. I'm doing
Right.
I told him I'm doing a carnivore diet. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing all these things. And he says, well, keep doing them. He says, keep doing
Yeah.
them, right? And then I asked for a break, and I needed a break, and he thought my body needed a break after 27 rounds of chemo. So June, July, August off. I actually didn't start chemo till September 15th. I buried my father on September 14th, and I started chemo on the 15th. And I went back to that same type of chemo that I was on, which is a drip from the hospital. And then they send me home with a different chemo. Then I have a bottle that I have attached to me for 2 days. So my chemo goes from like Wednesday at the hospital all the way to Friday afternoon when I get the bottle off. So I get back on that routine for 3 months. Actually, at the end of my break, there was a little tiny bit of growth in two spots. Okay.
Mhm.
Then and I didn't just break from chemo. I break from seeing my naturopath. I went on family vacations in
Oh,
the summer. Lots of things. There was lots of breaks,
gotcha.
right? I didn't fast.
You went back to Taco Bell.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't go back to Taco Bell. Maybe I had too many keto ice creams during the
Yeah.
summertime, to be honest with you.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but we were on the third month of doing this chemo, which was just like the end of November. I had a scan, and the results were not what I expected. The
Mhm.
two of my biggest tumors on my liver grew a bit. When I say a bit, they grew 1 centimeter and a half a centimeter, and they said there might be two new spots in the liver that they didn't notice before. That's what it said in the write up, right? They never commented on the colon. And
Mm.
I can kind of tell that the colon is not that bad. Like my stools are a good size. I don't have
Yeah,
blood.
yeah.
I have a little bit of blood streaking, but that's caused from the chemo, they say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I don't, I'm not worried about the colon. I'm a little bit, you know what? And when I got this news, it was a little bit devastating because I was doing so
Yeah.
well. But no, I can't take it as a setback. I have to take it as a side shuffle. And
Yeah.
I'm not changing my diet. I'm going to up my diet even more. I'm going to up my fasting. I'm going to add more things to my regimen. I'm going to go back to my natural path and reevaluate. I'm going to keep going to the osteopath. Today I did something really awesome. I had a great day. I have this new guy. I have a Wim Hof instructor. His name's Dominic, Wim Hof instructor. I met him at this yoga place, and we did 30 minutes of Wim Hof breathing, which is like intense breathing that leads you to cold exposure. So then, but we went to a sauna next, and then we did a cold plunge, like I did with Carrie. We did
Yeah.
that today. So I'm gonna keep doing all these new things. I
Yeah.
added in hyperbaric chamber oxygen treatment.
Mm.
So I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm
Yeah,
ready to
man.
keep going. Right.
Well, man, I tell you, brother, you got a lot of folks out there that are rooting for you, man.
I
Keep
know.
fighting.
Yeah.
We wish you all the best. Send you all
Thank
our
you.
thoughts and prayers, and follow you on your channel. Why don't you just tell everybody about your channel and what they can expect to see there, and where they can find you?
Yeah. Thank you, Russ. My channel is called Blessings on My Journey. Okay. And I started it like 2 months ago, like 2.5 months ago. And it's my main reason why I started it was to tell my story to help others. Right. That's it. I didn't expect anything selfish for me. I didn't expect for me to gain anything from it, like mentally, physically, even monetary wise. I don't expect to do any of that, right? So, but this channel's and my subscribers, if they're listening to this video, they're not only am I helping them and these people that are sick as well. I'm every single day I wake up and I stop thinking about my cancer and I think about my YouTube channel and I go into YouTube Studio and I take a look at it and the comments that they write, man, it puts me in a good mood, and
Yeah.
it cheers me up. It brings a smile to my face, and then the people that want help, I give them my contact. I'm doing Zoom calls with people. I did a Zoom call with this girl. Just last week, a girl from Vancouver. I did a Zoom call with her. She's got her father's in India, and he's got same cancer as me. And she wants to know everything that I'm doing. She wants to tell her father, like so. And I get all these calls all the time, and I try not to add stress to my life, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's actually helping me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my channel. Please, check it out. Check it out because I think everybody. It's really sad. The stat. I don't know what it is. 1 in 2 or 1 or 4 people, something like that, get cancer, are affected by
Yeah.
cancer. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody knows somebody that they can pass my information on to. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, like I said, I just want to say it again. Can't say it enough, man. You got just a great energy, a great spirit.
Thanks.
You're an inspiration to people, man. You got every reason to hang your head and be upset and bitter and that, but you've chosen to go the other way. You smile and you laugh every day, and you've taken this on to help other people as well, man. So, as I
Thanks.
said, brother, we're praying for you. We're rooting for you. We're in there with you. Keep fighting that fight, man. And I don't know if you're a person of faith, but if you are,
I am.
yeah, yeah.
I wear Jesus on my cross every day.
Yes, I was kind of
Yeah.
guessing, so we didn't
Yeah.
get into that. But you know how these things go. If you're a person of faith, man, it's not in your hands. But like I said, you just keep fighting that fight, and you got a lot of folks behind you, rooting
Thanks,
you on.
thanks,
So
thanks,
that's
Russ.
it, man. Well, folks, that's Keto Conversations. We bring you folks from all walks of life, and they share their stories and talk about what ketogenic living has done for them and how it's helped them and benefited them. And we hope you get inspiration from these stories, and you can, of course, share them with other people. And if you're not on that keto road with us, get on the keto road. If you are on there, stay on there. I know sometimes it's tough, especially this time of year, man. There's all kind of speed bumps and all kind of stuff in the road, but that's okay. You keep moving, keep doing your thing, because ketogenic living is about total health and wellness. And I believe, and I know Jeff will tell you the same, that if you embrace ketogenic living, you will see the benefits, whatever issues you may have. So once again, we appreciate you watching. There will be more of these, and we hope you watch those too and enjoy them. And until then, we wish you all the best, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.